In the late 1970s, football was still a war of bodies. It was strength over speed, power over precision, defense over imagination. Quarterbacks were expected to stand tall and survive punishment. Wide receivers were luxury pieces, not weapons. The passing game was dangerous, not because it scored too much, but because it failed too often. This was an NFL ruled by fear, collisions, and tradition. And in that world, San Francisco was irrelevant. For decades, the San Francisco 49ers existed on the margins of greatness. They had moments. They had stars who came and went, but they never had direction. Seasons blurred together, losing records, empty promises, quiet Sundays. Candlestick Park was cold, windy, and unforgiving. Fans came with hope and left with resignation. The 49ers weren't bad enough to be forgotten, but never good enough to be remembered. By the late 1970s, the franchise was drifting. No identity, no philosophy, no future anyone could see, until one man arrived with an idea that would shatter football orthodoxy. Bill Walsh didn't look like a revolutionary. No booming voice, no intimidating presence, no ego-driven bravado. What he had was clarity. When Walsh became head coach of the 49ers in 1979, he didn't promise championships, he promised organization. Walsh believed football was not chaos, it was a system waiting to be perfected. Years earlier, while coaching under Paul Brown and later with the Cincinnati Bengals, Walsh had been forced to innovate. He didn't have a cannon-armed quarterback. He didn't have elite linemen, so he adapted. Short passes, quick releases, precise timing, receivers as extensions of the running game. What began as necessity became philosophy. The West Coast offense was born, but when Walsh brought it to San Francisco, the NFL laughed. Too soft, too risky, too complicated. They were wrong. Walsh didn't inherit a contender, he inherited rubble. So he tore everything down. Veterans were released, schemes were rewritten. Practices became classrooms. Every route had purpose. Every step was measured. Every mistake was corrected immediately. Walsh wasn't building a team, he was building an operating system. Wins didn't come quickly. The 49ers struggled early. Critics questioned Walsh's methods. Fans questioned his sanity. But Walsh never wavered. Because he wasn't coaching for Sunday, he was coaching for history. In the 1979 NFL Draft, the 49ers selected a quarterback in the third round, Joe Montana. No fanfare, no headlines. He wasn't tall, he wasn't flashy, he wasn't feared. But Bill Walsh saw something no one else did. In Joe Montana, Walsh saw calm where others saw weakness, poise where others saw hesitation. Montana didn't panic. He didn't force plays. He didn't crumble under pressure. When chaos arrived, Joe Montana slowed the game down. Walsh began grooming him carefully, teaching him not just how to throw, but how to think. By 1981, the pieces were finally in place. The offense was fluid. The routes were crisp. The quarterback trusted the system, and the system trusted him. The 49ers shocked the league. They didn't overpower opponents. They outmaneuvered them. Linebackers were pulled out of position. Defenses were exhausted by precision. This wasn't football as the league knew it. This was something new, something dangerous. San Francisco finished 13-3. And suddenly, everyone was watching. January 10th, 1982, Candlestick Park, 49ers versus Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys were royalty, the gold standard, the measuring stick. The 49ers, still outsiders, late in the fourth quarter, down by 6, season on the line. 3 plays, no margin for error, no room for fear. Joe Montana rolled right, pressure closed in. He threw the ball high, almost too high. Dwight Clark leaped. The ball touched his fingertips and stuck. In that instant, the old NFL died, and a new era was born. Candlestick erupted. The Cowboys were dethroned. The league felt it immediately. 2 weeks later, the 49ers stood on the biggest stage. Super Bowl 16. Against the Cincinnati Bengals, young team, young quarterback, new philosophy. They didn't flinch. Montana was composed. The offense was surgical. The defense held firm. When the clock hit 0, San Francisco were champions. The 49ers didn't just win a Super Bowl, they announced a revolution. As confetti fell, Bill Walsh didn't celebrate wildly. He knew something the rest of the league hadn't yet realized. This wasn't a peak, this was a beginning. The 49ers didn't build a dynasty on power. They built it on intelligence. And intelligence was about to dominate an entire decade. Revolutions don't last unless they evolve. The 49ers had changed football once. Now, they were about to master it. What followed wasn't a flash of brilliance. It was a decade of control. Joe Montana was never the loudest man on the field. He didn't demand attention, he commanded trust. As the 1980s unfolded, Montana became something rare. A quarterback immune to panic. Where others felt pressure, Montana felt opportunity. Third and long, 2-minute drills, Super Bowl moments, the game slowed down for him. He didn't throw the hardest, he threw the smartest, and Bill Walsh built everything around that calm. Then came Jerry Rice. When the 49ers drafted him in 1985, critics scoffed. Small school receiver, unimpressive combine numbers, but Walsh saw perfection where others saw risk. Rice wasn't faster than everyone. He was sharper, more precise, more relentless. His roots were exact, his hands were automatic, his work ethic was legendary. Together, Montana and Rice became unstoppable. Timing replaced chaos. Precision replaced improvisation. The West Coast offense, reached its final form, and those 1984 49ers weren't just good. They were historic. 15-1, one of the greatest seasons ever played. In Super Bowl 19 against the Miami Dolphins and Dan Marino, San Francisco delivered a message. Voiceover, Don Tep. This wasn't a battle, it was a demonstration. Montana dissected the defense. Rice punished every mistake. The Dolphins were overwhelmed. The NFL understood now. This wasn't a trend, it was the standard. Bill Walsh believed championships were built before game day. Practices were precise, meetings were meticulous, details were sacred. Walsh didn't coach plays, he coached habits. Players were taught professionalism, how to speak, how to prepare, how to lead. Many would later become coaches themselves. The Walsh coaching tree would reshape the NFL for decades. By the late 1980s, change was inevitable. Joe Montana's body began to wear down. Injuries lingered. Waiting behind him was Steve Young. Gifted, explosive, restless. The transition wasn't easy. Fans were divided. Locker rooms were tense. Most dynasties collapsed during transition. The 49ers evolved. Young brought speed, mobility, a new dimension. The system adapted again. Before the torch fully passed, Montana delivered one last miracle. Super Bowl 43, against the Bengals. 2 minutes remaining. 89 yards, no timeouts. In the huddle, Montana smiled. "Hey guys, isn't that John Candy?" Calm, confident, unshakable, he led the drive, hit Rice, finished with a touchdown, another ring, another legend sealed. With Steve Young stepping in, many expected decline. Instead, the 49ers delivered perfection. Super Bowl 2014, against the Denver Broncos, 55-10, the most dominant Super Bowl ever played. This wasn't victory, this was annihilation. The dynasty had now spanned quarterbacks, eras, and styles. No weakness, no fear. 4 Super Bowls, 2 quarterbacks, 1 philosophy. The 49ers didn't chase trends, they created them. The 80s weren't about who hit hardest. They were about who thought fastest. And no one thought faster than San Francisco. As the decade closed, every team in the NFL copied them. Short passes, timing routes, Quarterbacks trained for intelligence, not just arm strength. Football had changed, permanently. But dynasties don't last forever. And greatness always comes at a cost. For years, Steve Young lived in the shadow of a legend. Joe Montana was the face, the calm, the myth. Young was the replacement, a word no great quarterback wants attached to his name. Replacing a legend doesn't mean copying him. It means becoming something else. Young ran faster, extended plays, turned broken moments into brilliance. But the system stayed the same: precision, timing, intelligence. By 1994, the NFL had caught up. Free agency had leveled the field. Defenses were smarter. The league was faster. Yet San Francisco had one more statement left. Super Bowl 20, 49ers versus Chargers. Steve Young delivered what history demanded: 6 touchdown passes. This wasn't a coronation, it was liberation. The dynasty now had 5 rings, different decades, different leaders, same DNA. Bill Walsh retired years earlier, but his ideas never did. His coaching tree spread across the NFL: Mike Holmgren, George Seifert, Andy Reid, John Gruden, Sean McVay. Indirectly, if you watch modern football, you are watching Bill Walsh. Shotgun formations, quick reads, receivers as precision instruments. The West Coast offense became the league's language. Others have won more rings, but none have changed the sport like this. The 49ers didn't dominate with force, they dominated with ideas. They didn't overpower the league, they outthought it. Their dynasty survived. Quarterback changes, coaching transitions, rule evolutions. That's why it endures. But brilliance has a price. Expectations became unbearable. Anything less than greatness felt like failure. Fans waited decades for another ring. Montana left. Young retired. The system lived on. But magic is rare. When you reach the top, the fall feels longer. Ask fans of any era, who owned the 80s? The answer doesn't change. 4 championships, a new philosophy, a permanent shift in how football is played. Other teams won seasons, the 49ers won an era. The banners still hang, the footage still plays, the ideas still dominate Sundays because dynasties fade, but revolutions live forever. When the 49ers owned the 80s, they didn't just win football games, they changed football itself.